Imagine having the power to shape your mind like a finely tuned machine that's just destined for success and happiness. Well, that's the promise of one of my personal favorites. I love this book so much. Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. And the author unveils a groundbreaking theory that our minds operate on cybernetic principles. All that means is that we can easily shape our minds and reprogram our subconscious to get our desired outcomes, basically. And in this video, I want to explore the topic about what your self-image is, lessons that I've learned from this book, and how you can use your self-image to create the life you want. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. The book was written in 1960, and Dr. Maxwell Maltz was actually a plastic surgeon. And what he found when he was going on to discover this groundbreaking theory was that clients would come to him, well, his patients would come to him, and say, for example, they were getting a nose job. He would change the slightest detail, like the slightest detail that even their friends and family wouldn't notice after the procedure was done. And somehow they started attracting their dream jobs, their dream partners, right? Stuff that they've always wanted in life, they were able to achieve, and they had like a sudden boost in confidence. And then what he discovered was that it all came down to their self-image. The way they saw themselves after having that nose job was in a much more confident light, and that they started attracting the things they wanted because they changed their subconscious mind that allowed them to attract those things into their lives. Which brings me to discuss what exactly is your self-image. So you see, your brain is like a machine, right? And it's stored every single event or influence up until this current point in your life. And basically, your self-image is just basically how you see yourself, right? The things that you believe, the things that you've been programmed to believe as well. Now, what exactly influences your self-image? Now, the author actually says that your self-image isn't real in the sense that it's just made up of past experiences. Thoughts in itself are subjective, meaning that they're not always true. But if you believe these thoughts, they become part of your self-image. And why does your self-image accept these thoughts? It's simple. It's because your brain can't tell the difference between reality and imagination. Your brain reacts to what you automatically believe to be true. Whether it's accurate or not, it doesn't matter. Your brain, it just can't tell the difference. And how does your self-image affect your programming? Essentially, it comes down to understanding one simple principle. That is your feedback. Because the author says that feedback reinforces your learned behavior through what he calls feedback loops, right? Essentially, humans and machines both use feedback to operate successfully. And the author also goes on to say that machines remember successful attempts and discard mistakes to create efficiency through these feedback loops, and that humans rely on self-image to interpret feedback, deciding whether to reinforce success or failure. He further goes on to say that focusing on negative feedback can lead to reinforcing unhelpful behavioral patterns. I want to dive into what the difference is between a positive and a negative self-image. The author speaks about how people often mask their insecurities with positive traits. He also says, interestingly, that people with lower self-esteem may tend to hide their feelings of inadequacy with these positive traits. For instance, he says that people who give too much of themselves might look for approval from other people. Now let's differentiate between a positive and a negative image. So positive traits, in other words, a good self-image, driven by clear goals and aspirations, people who are willing to communicate openly and admit their faults, and they're brave in facing challenges and taking different risks. On the other side of the spectrum, we've got a bad self-image, right? These are your negative traits. These are people that are easily affected by setbacks, and they often adopt a victim mentality. They're quick to blame, and they resort to aggression, especially when they're frustrated, and they struggle with insecurity and constant self-comparison. The author actually suggests to us to engage in mental practices, right? So basically conditioning your mind for success. I'm going to read you a very beautiful extract from the book, one of my personal favorites, and it goes as follows. Hold a picture of yourself long and steadily enough in your mind's eye, and you'll be drawn to it. Picture yourself vividly as defeated, and that alone will make victory impossible. Picture yourself vividly as winning, and that alone will contribute immeasurably to success. Great living starts with a picture, held in your imagination, of what you would like to do Orbi. I love this extract so much. A person who we all know who engages in mental practices pretty much all the time is champs like Conor McGregor. He's been saying from day one that he's going to be the champ. He's been saying from day one that, you know, despite the setbacks, despite everyone calling him crazy for wanting to be a champion, he still went against the odds and still achieved these goals. So I look up to him in terms of like the way he thinks about his mental practices and the way he actually vocalizes his goals and actually achieves them. I think that's quite admirable of him. And with that being said, the actual process of changing your self-image with your imagination, right? It starts with your goals. What goals do you have in mind? Are those goals big enough to a point where other people start calling you crazy? And can you actually see yourself achieving those goals, right? Visualize the person you want to be. What does this person look like? What kind of shape are they in? What kind of money are they making? Where do they live? Who do they live with? Like, these are all questions that you need to ask yourself. Now, how do you align your self-image with what you actually want? And it comes down to committing yourself to 21 days of what he calls the self-image practice, right? The self-image change, if you will. And it's broken down into 5 different methods. The first method is to prove that change is possible. How can you do this? Well, you can start by changing up your routine. So for 21 days, for example, you need to try and shake off those negative traits. Start by switching up simple things like, I don't know, maybe something like brushing your teeth with your left hand if you're actually right-handed. Just prove to yourself that change is possible. Secondly, you need to relax, right? Find methods and ways in which you can relax your mind. So I personally like to hit the sauna for about half an hour and then I do a cold shower afterwards. I don't do it every day, but I'll do it like once a week. And also engaging in meditation. I don't do it that often, but I've heard other people say that it is quite helpful for them. So find a way to relax your mind, especially in the fast-paced world that we live in now. The third is to imagine yourself being successful. So like we've said throughout the video, picture yourself conquering those challenges. Picture yourself getting that dream job that you want. Picture yourself dating the girl that you want to date. Picture yourself traveling to the places that you'd like to travel to. And basically soak up all those vibes until they become a reality for yourself. The fourth method is to focus on the goal itself, right? So if you've got a big goal in mind, so say for example, it's reaching 10K per month, you need to break it down into small chunkable sizes so that you can at least know how to get to the first step and then eventually the second step, third step, fourth step, and basically climb the ladder that way. Basically what he's trying to suggest is that as you're building your self-image, you'll see that as you conquer more and more challenges, that bigger goal, the bigger goal that you had in mind, that 10K per month, will become a reality because of all the small steps that you've gotten right. And the fifth method is to choose happiness now. You know, make happiness your daily driver. Find joy in the little things that keep your vibe high and keep your vibrational state high, because it's easier to achieve goals when you're in a much higher vibrational state. It's easier to perform tasks that way and it's easier to execute on your goals. My final thoughts on this book, Psycho-Cybernetics. Look, I absolutely love this book. I've read it at least 3 times now. It was recommended by all the entrepreneurs that I look up to, and I'm actually really impressed that it's held its relevance and helped a lot of people since 1960. So I would definitely recommend this book to not just entrepreneurs, but anyone who's basically looking for self-development. I'm really not one for self-help books. I've read quite a lot of them and I find a lot of them to be quite repetitive, but this one, hands down, has been life-changing. And I too use these principles in my own life, you know, using my self-image to try and achieve the goals that I want to achieve. I'm still in the process of doing that, but I would highly recommend this book to absolutely anyone looking to develop in their own lives. So I hope you guys really did enjoy that book review. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. I'll be doing a lot more book reviews in the future. Take care, guys.